KayFabe Smark Podcast. Welcome to the KayFabe Smark Podcast with Eric Todd and Brian Rompa, your smart mark source for news and opinions on the world of professional wrestling.
Hey, what is going on? This is Brian. This is the KayFabe Smark Podcast. This is episode 39. You're sitting in with us here. And make sure you guys head on over to all of our social media platforms. Head on over to Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Subscribe, like, and share all of that. Get involved and hang out with us and talk some professional wrestling. Once again, this is episode 39 coming at you here on this cold week in February. Let's go check out and see what's going on with Eric. Eric, what is happening in your world?
Oh, you know, same old, living in a winter wonderland. Shit's been crazy, ain't it?
Yeah, it's cold across the country.
I mean, we're in Michigan, so we're just getting our normal foot and a half of fluff. But man, East Coast is getting battered, and then everyone knows what's going down in Texas. Nobody has furnaces down there or winter coats, and they're just getting wrecked.
Yeah, I mean, we're up to a nice, spicy, balmy 20 degrees out tonight. So,
yeah. I mean, Texas is no laughing matter. It's shitty what's going on down there, but holy smokes. You never would think that you would see Texas getting smashed and Michigan. We're just chilling. I had to shovel a path so my dog could take a shit. That was about the brunt. That was about the worst of what I had to deal with.
Yeah, I didn't wear a coat today. I just had a hoodie on, and it was a nice warm 8 degrees this morning. So. That's that.
Yeah. Other than that, they've just been chilling. I watched some classic wrestling this week. I just been in the mood to watch some old shit. Actually, tonight I watched Terry Funk and Ric Flair in an I Quit match from 1989. But
Woo.
I'm here. I'm in the present with you, ready to talk some news.
Talk some news. What do you remember what event that was in 1989 that you were watching?
Yeah, that was Clash of the Champions 9.
All right.
From 1989. So go ahead and check that out. Terry Funk, Ric Flair, I Quit match.
1989 Clash of Champions. There you go. You got some news? We're already diving in the news. What do we got for some news in the wrestling world this week?
Well, you and I spoke last week or the week before about the Peacock deal, and it just seemed like all peaches and cream where WWE was going to get 33 million new viewers on their content and get $1 billion, and it was all going to be peachy. Well, they hyped up Peacock just a little too much. They do have 33 million subscribers, but only 11 million of them motherfuckers pay. So it turns out Peacock is kind of leaning on WWE to bring their subscribers up. But since all the reports say WWE only has 1 million subscribers, I don't know how this is going to work out. It just seems to be more of a toss-up than we anticipated. We thought this was like a lock and load, everybody wins, but I don't know. It seems like Peacock might want to team up with somebody with a little more power than WWE at this point, don't you think?
Maybe, but the only problem is I can't think of anybody else who would have the power to draw them in unless they got like an exclusive contract with like the NFL and only showed NFL games.
Well, some people were talking about Warner Entertainment, but it seems like Warner is partnered with HBO right now because all the Warner Brother movies are coming out on HBO Max.
So my only thought is if the numbers are askew on the paying side of things, because I know when you sign up for new Comcast, Xfinity, cable, and internet packages, that they include this in. So
a paid version of Peacock?
Correct. So you can get the paid versions of Peacock, but you're not paying. There is no bill.
Probably the same way I am with Sprint cell phone service. They give me a free subscription to Hulu.
Yeah, so I just don't know if that, when you say there's only this many paying, it makes me question and think in my head, are those people being counted as on the paid side, or I don't know how their accounting would work on that. So I think there's going to be a lot of people coming to that as it is, and you're going to start to see. I think you'll see some. I think just the more content that they can add, and the less. So basically, like kind of what you were saying a few weeks ago when we were talking about it, you're more willing, even as a wrestling fan, to shell out $9.99 at the expensive version of Peacock, and not even want to piggyback off of a buddy's account for like the WWE Network or something,
Right.
because of all the extra content you got. So now are you going to get, you've already got 1 million hardcore subscribers. Are you going to pick up now another 1 million? That'd be like, well, damn, I'll pay that because then I get all this NBC content as well and everything else that they own, plus all the wrestling content, even from $4 to $10 or $5 to $10.
Yeah, it's a very good point.
Just lowering that path of the path of resistance there as I try and stumble over my words and get my tongue all tied up there. You want easy access to things, so if people can come in, they don't have to download special apps. They can have it in here. It's just all the content. It's easy and ready to go. So maybe this adding more content to their platform is going to draw the people in.
That's true, and you could possibly bring in people who aren't really into wrestling anymore, but they're like, holy shit, I get all this old wrestling content and everything on NBC for $10 a month. I guess there is a wide variety of people you could be bringing in from this deal, but it just kind of caught me off guard that NBC is kind of hoping WWE can kind of bail them out a little bit. Like, I'm sure they're surviving, but they need more paid subscribers.
Think of it this way too, like TV shuts down for the most part in, late spring, early summer, right? Where it's just kind of constant reruns and nothing really happening. Summer TV is always kind of weak, right? Well, WWE is always putting out live weekly shows 52 weeks a year. So there's still something new and fresh being put out for content, every day of every week of the year, minimal for Monday Night Raw and things like that. And I don't think Raw will be on there, but just their pay-per-views and things like that. So, and the content they keep updating and putting out for documentaries and stuff. So yeah,
just something to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah, nutshell, that'll go.
Big news in WWE. Everybody's heard about this, but they released a statement. Even though they had a record 2020 year of raking in the cash, making huge profits, WWE still released a statement or held a meeting with employees saying that employees would not be getting promotions, bonuses, or raises this year from WWE. And apparently that's brought the morale of WWE staff and talent alike. It's brought that morale way down, considering, like I said, 2020 was a record year for them. And I'm sure the big wigs, the Vince McMahons, the Paul Levesques, I'm sure they're still getting their bonuses.
Oh, those small business owners is always looking for a way to cut some corners and save a few nickels.
Oh, WWE, the only billion-dollar small business out there, but that's how Vinnie Mac runs it.
I mean, they got to be. I guess you can look at it like in a couple different ways here. You can say, well, that sucks. Obviously, for them, it sucks. For me, it doesn't affect my life at all. But yeah, I can say it sucks. Or you can look at it on the other side, and if your boss says, hey, no raises, or you're going to get raises, but now the odds of you losing your job are greatly increased as well. You could be like, well, you know what? Hold your raise and keep giving me that consistent money. I don't want to get.
But
cut
it seems
either.
like there shouldn't be any danger of, people getting released when they're making more money than ever. Apparently, their last quarter wasn't exactly amazing, but 2020 as a whole was huge for WWE. So I don't know. Where do you draw the line between keep running a tight ship or just being flat out greedy.
Yeah, I mean, from what we're being fed right now and the information that's being released and the way that we're reading it, sure, it sounds like they're being greedy. There's no other way to put it. Sounds like they're being greedy. But maybe I'm sure there's always three sides to every story: yours, mine, and the truth.
Yeah, that's true. There's always more to the story. Sammy Guevara catching a little heat over there on in AEW land from Tony Khan. Did you hear about this little ditty?
This one completely missed me, so fill me in.
All right. So apparently Chris Jericho brokered a deal with Impact to get Sammy Guevara in on a storyline or something to that effect. And between Chris Jericho and Tony Khan, they got Impact to write Sammy Guevara into the script, into the storyline last minute. Once Guevara got wind of what the storyline was, which we're not privy to that information, Guevara reportedly called Jericho and was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Figure something else out. I'm not doing this. Tony Khan was pretty pissed off about it. Jericho ended up telling Sammy, don't even go to Nashville, just go home. And so, yeah, Sammy caught a little heat because he wasn't up for the bullshit that Tony Khan and Don Callis were going to write him in for.
Does Jericho have any stroke in the company at AEW, or is he just, meaning is he have an office position like Kenny and the Bucks and Cody? Is he involved with any of that, or is he just a bigwig that can kind of go in and call shots and walk around?
I was always under the impression that he was a executive VP just like Cody.
Okay.
But I could be wrong.
I just didn't know. So, yeah, that it just sounds funny that when you say Jericho brokered a deal for him, there's too many cooks in the kitchen over there at AEW sometimes. You need to have somebody. It's just like the wrestlers are like booking their own things. I know like the big thing is like you can go do independent shows, but like they're there, they're doing this, they're running their own characters, they're bopping over to this show. This show is writing storylines for them. They don't like it. Now you're mad at them for burning. I can see why WWE never opened up these, forbidden doors, they've called it, and didn't do these big crossover promotions. They said, keep it in our building, and that way it's not, convoluted and ugly.
Right. I mean, apparently this did get kind of ugly because the reports are that Chris Jericho had to reach out to Don Callis because Callis wanted to ban Sammy Guevara from Impact because he backed out on the script or whatever last minute. Apparently Sammy was on his way to Nashville when he backed out. So Callis reportedly wanted to ban him from ever being on Impact, and Chris Jericho had to smooth that over. It sounds like a storyline in itself.
Yeah, they should have just ran with this on TV. Probably is way better than anything they had planned and ready to go.
Sammy kind of touched on it by posting a tweet of him making a snow angel with no coat on, and said apparently I've already got heat or something to that effect.
Just be careful on the Twitter, Sammy. Just be careful on the Twitter.
Yeah, we know sometimes you get a little loose-lipped on Twitter and cause problems.
Cause the problems. Yeah, I'm not sure how this is all going to work. I think things are going to get messed up. So over the weekend, I was bored on Saturday, and you could sign up for Impact Wrestling Plus for free. And by doing that, you get a free month subscription to their version of the network. And they include their pay-per-views now. So they had a pay-per-view on Saturday, and it was the one where... So I popped on and watched that, and I was thinking, this story leads me to tell this story, is that they had that private party match with the Private Party, the Good Brothers, and sorry about your damn luck. What the heck was that guy's name? Cowboy James Storm.
James Storm.
James Storm and his partner, and I'm having a brain fart, and we'll move on from it. Doesn't matter. Nonetheless, what I saw happening is that Private Party, coming over from AEW, was made to look like goofballs on how you would expect them to be made to look. You're in the ring For one guy, you got James Storm, great professional wrestler. You have the Good Brothers, great tag team, great professional wrestlers. And then you've got the Private Party, who are young and way smaller than anybody else in the ring.
Right.
And they were just made to look goofy. Like, I'm not going to get into the whole, breakdown of the match, but they lost, and they just looked like put any two other numbskulls to stand in the corner. So now AEW's talent went over to this, but AEW's putting the Good Brothers, making them look like a fucking $1 million. So maybe AEW's looking to pass that contract over to the Good Brothers to get them to come over and hang out. Like, look how good we make you look. Maybe Impact has no interest in Private Party and says, "Hey, yeah, sure, come on over. See you next week, kid." Like, hit the bricks. But it's just you're just getting too many. Why would we put your guy over? Why would you put our guy over? Why would this happen? These storylines where they're trying to cross promotions is going to be weird. I don't know how they're going to pull it off without getting hurt feelings, and clearly they can't because it already happened.
Right. I guess just putting two and two together sounds like they had written a similar story for Sammy, and he wasn't going for it.
Well, you know what? Good for him for speaking up. That's what's going to keep you alive. More often than not, that's
to be honest, if I'm Sammy Guevara and I'm as talented as he is, I wouldn't give two shits if Don Callis banned me from Impact. Who gives a shit? Sammy can go to Japan anytime he wants. He can go to Mexico anytime he wants. He could probably get an NXT if you want to break it down to brass tacks.
If he could get in, if he went into NXT with an open mind, he would be moved through the system probably very quickly. Just saying, if he went in and learned their way of doing business, learned how to operate the beast over there that is WWE, and play the game backstage in front of the camera and act and be how you needed to be, put a rocket up his ass. He's on his way.
To the moon.
To the moon. Just like Dogecoin, right to the moon.
Right. So we got Bad Bunny over in WWE. When Royal Rumble happened, I made fun of him because I thought it was Bad Baby performing. I've never heard a Bad Bunny song in my life. The performance was absolute trash.
Well, I mean, we don't speak Spanish, so that doesn't help us.
Yeah. No habla español. But apparently Bad Bunny has blown the fuck up. He's selling more merchandise than any WWE superstar right now.
I saw this post. He has the number one selling T-shirt on their website right now in the WWE shop, WWE.com or WWE shop, however it is. It's bananas. And I guess, hey man, if WWE gets, $2 off every shirt or whatever their deal, there's a deal. WWE's taking a slice of the cheese. There ain't no question. Everybody can win, but it's just amazing that this cat went out there and is like that. Not on my radar, but again, probably not the demo. I'm 38.
Right. To be honest, I could give two shits about Bad Bunny, but I tell you that story to tell you this story. There's another rapper coming to WWE, Brian. And This one's not just going to show up on Royal Rumble and do a shitty crossbody off the top rope. This one's going through the ranks. This one is training with Rikishi. And do you know who I'm talking about?
I don't.
None other than Bow Wow.
Bow Wow. Lil Bow Wow, formerly known Lil Bow Wow, is going to try and be a professional wrestler.
Lil Bow Wow has made it very clear that he is serious about joining WWE, and he's chosen his personal wrestling trainer, and that trainer is Rikishi. And apparently he's going to put his heart and soul into it. You can't really get much of a better teacher than the Samoan SWAT member Rikishi.
He's part of a dynasty.
If you can get a successful Samoan wrestler to train you, your chances are already looking pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen or heard from Lil Bow Wow since his airplane incident where he faked the funk of flying on a private jet when he was on just a regular commercial flight.
But if I recall correctly, I don't think Bow Wow is a very big guy. So
no, I mean,
maybe we'll see him in NXT. He'll fit right in.
yeah. Last vision in my head, I would say, yeah. I don't remember him being a very big guy. He might be tall and lanky, kind of like a Montez Ford from the Street Profits. but hey, whatever. I mean, God bless. We'll see what pops out. I guess if you can get Rikishi to give you the old God bless and move on, you might get pulled into the belly of the beast, into the system there at WWE. Is that his goal, to get to WWE?
That's his goal.
Well, I was just thinking, because that's Snoop's related to him somehow, right? Uncle, nephew, cousin, something like that.
I don't know. I know he's Sasha Banks's. Snoop Dogg is Sasha Banks's cousin.
I thought him and Bow Wow had some connection, or maybe he brought him out on stage with him on Arsenio Hall back in the day in like the late 90s or something. But
something. I'm sure Snoop calls him nephew, so
maybe that's why I just
thought
that.
He calls me nephew, actually. So,
nonetheless, I was gonna say, you can't rely on old Uncle Snoop to give him an in anymore, because WWE's mad at him because he went and played with AEW for a minute, so he doesn't have that option no more.
So I don't know if he's related to Snoop. He's related to Sasha, so maybe Sasha can get him in there.
Hey, well, what are you going to do? Let's see what happens. His rap career is down the toilet, so what the hell? Why not try and be a professional wrestler?
Right. When you're successful in one area of life and and it's a wrap on that, you're no longer a success. There's two things that you try to do. Either A, become a stand-up comedian, or B, become a professional wrestler. It just seems to be the path. And then for entertainers.
And then when the other one doesn't work, you go to the other side of the coin and he'll become a comedian on the way down.
Exactly. You got to play the entire field. But a little Jerry Springer type news here. The Lacey Evans pregnancy angle that's going on in WWE, where she's supposedly pregnant by Ric Flair.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, shit. We dealt with the Rusev, Bobby Ashley, Lana thing. So yeah, now you got the whole Lacey, Charlotte Flair, Ric Flair feud, topping off with Lacey being pregnant by Ric Flair. Turns out she's actually pregnant, and that was just their way of announcing it. So she's legit pregnant. She's about to pull a Becky Lynch on us. And so yeah, we probably won't see Lacey for a while, but a lot of people hate Lacey Evans, and I thought she was all right. I always thought she was kind of an annoying heel, like a Sami Zayn type thing.
She was neither here nor there for me. If she was on TV, it didn't make me want to change it and hate it, and I didn't run to it to peep it out. Also, it was just there and existed, kind of a vanilla type situation. So, but I hated her finishing move. But other than that, I just hated the stupid name. The woman's right. Okay, we get it. There's a play on words. Do you see what they did there?
Right. She, by no means was she any groundbreaking and character-wise or anything. But I thought she was an okay, annoying heel. But congrats to Lacey Evans. Go have your baby. And maybe we'll get to see Becky Lynch now. Who knows? Maybe Becky Lynch will tag in.
Mad Moms. They can come back as a tag team and just be mad. They can push their kids down the ring in strollers. They can wrestle and be like Mad Moms, drive minivans down and stuff like Eddie Guerrero used to do in his lowrider, except now they'll drive minivans and they'll park them.
There we go. We'll call them Club Karen. And
wear yoga pants.
Yes. And Sue can drive them to the ring.
Yes.
This will be where AEW and WWE merge.
Can just be basic moms and have Starbucks.
There we go. Oh. And in news that anyone could guess if you gave them the chance, guess who's back in jail, Brian? I'll give you a couple clues.
Sure.
Calgary and Dynasty and
what's his name?
Shane. Black Sheep.
Yeah, I was gonna say what's his name? The goofball Hart.
Yeah, Teddy Hart.
Teddy Hart
is back. Teddy Hart is back in jail.
He's not breeding cats anymore.
Unless he can do it in a jail cell. But his active bookings right now are for injuring a person who is either a child, elderly, or disabled. So I don't know
It's
the
very
official
broad.
charges, but evading arrest and possessing illicit substances,
Well,
according to the Arlington Police Department.
he was never shy about his illicit drug use, and that was why he could never get anything going in WWE. And I just wonder who's going to
So-
feed his cat.
Yeah, if he's out there beating up autistic children or or old people while he's smoking crack, I don't know who's gonna open a can of Fancy Feast for mittens.
This stupid cat. He was always obsessed with his cat. And he's a strange dude. If he could get out of his own way, he probably could have been something of entertainment, but he's not. So there you go. Well, we'll let you know how that story unfolds.
All right, and The Rock, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, his TV show premiered this week. I haven't watched it yet because I haven't subscribed to Peacock, but
See, check it out in March as soon as the WWE Network transfers us over.
Rock recently did an interview with Aaron Jensen of USA Today, and it kind of got brought up. People talking about The Rock running for president, and he actually said he's for it. The quote is, "I would consider a presidential run in the future if that's what the people wanted. Truly, I mean that. And I'm not flippant in any way of my answer. That would be up to the people. So I would wait and I would listen. I would have my finger on the pulse, my ear to the ground." So it is quite possible that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson may run for president. And if you've seen the movie Idiocracy,
We're almost
everybody's
there.
water has been replaced with Gatorade, and a professional wrestler was president of the United States. So there you go. If you're watching the video version, Brian has an Aquafina bottle, and it appears to be filled with a sports drink.
It's just
He's
water.
already
It's just
he's
water
already
with some
switched his
Mio.
pipes over.
Just water with Mio in it. But the irony of that you said water and Gatorade, and boy, that doesn't looks pretty good.
It's
there,
got
don't it?
electrolytes.
Yeah.
So yeah, so a professional wrestler very possibly could be our future president. And hell, the way politics are nowadays, I wouldn't think twice.
I'd probably
could
vote for
definitely
him just
see
because
that
he's on the ballot.
Yeah. If it's him or another 98-year-old rich white guy, I'll take the Samoan every time.
Always go with the Samoan.
And one last thing in my newsreel here, Pat McAfee will be returning to WWE television. Vignette actually aired on NXT, and Pat McAfee is on a plane. He addresses the Adam Cole situation. And if you've got that queued up, Brian, go ahead and play that audio.
Yeah, we got a little audio clip here. It's also here on the video version. You can see that playing as well.
Oh, internet wrestling community. It's your favorite wrestler of all time, Pat McAfee. You know, obviously, I am on my bird, traveling to warmer lands, and you all are realizing what I've known all along. You were bamboozled, hoodwinked, tricked into believing that your savior, the man who was coming after me as the guy who was going to protect the wrestling community. Well, it turns out he was a scumbag all along, just like I said. In internet wrestling community, I understand you're way too dumb to have realized that yourself. That's why you have me to tell you things you don't know. I will accept all apologies. Go ahead and tweet me. Hashtag Pat was right. Your hero has been and will continue to be an absolute bum. I will continue to be the greatest thing to ever happen to wrestling. Now, I have to go to a beach, some Mai Tais, take care, get some sun, while you bums sit at home. I'll see you around. Hashtag Pat was right. Oh.
Well, there you go. Pat was right. You're going to hashtag that and get it going. Pat is such a talker. He can just, even that one little minute, that's all that clip was, 1 minute and 3 seconds, and just reels you right in.
Pat is definitely heel of the year. When I heard he was going to be performing in WWE, I shit all over it, which is probably no surprise to anybody. But once I saw him on the microphone and saw him in the ring, this guy's the real deal, man. He is the best heel in the WWE company at the moment.
Well, what usually happens for you to have the right to feel that way is that the WWE tends to bring in people that don't respect the business for what it is, that really, and then not even that they don't respect it, they don't even know what's happening in it. They don't know what's happening in the product. They don't know what's happening on TV. As for Pat McAfee, he knows what's happening. He's actually a wrestling fan. You know, he got drunk one night and bought a wrestling ring, and because he can, and he had the money to do such a thing. So he respects wrestling, understands wrestling, and he evidently stays current on the product and knows what talking and cutting a promo is about. And, you know, he's also, to boot, he's an athlete and can get in the ring and perform. So he's kind of everything you need when it comes to an outsider, and damn near working his way inside.
So he definitely doesn't rely on his old career as a football player. He comes in and you just think of him as one of the wrestlers. He's a wrestler. I don't think of him as Pat McAfee, former kicker for the Colts or whoever the hell he played for.
Well,
I think of him as Pat McAfee, the asshole heel who's just here to rile people up, and you actually believe him when he speaks his promos.
The thing for that is probably, well, I can speak for me, and I can loosely speak for you on this. I know I had no clue that he was a professional football player and that he was a kicker until I just knew he hosted a pretty hot YouTube talk show thing. I didn't know where he came from. Then I learned more about his story after he got involved with wrestling, and then learned, he was a football player and an actual athlete. So besides not knowing that leading into this, yes, he does not use that fame, but I wouldn't have known it if he needed to use it.
So just that being that, I hope we see Pat McAfee on a regular basis. He can definitely bring the level of believability and the art of cutting a promo. He can definitely bring that level up in NXT or the main roster, wherever the hell he wants to go. But I'm hoping this is a more permanent fixture for him this time and not just here and there. But time will tell.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath that he's going to keep his place in the business or in the company like a weekly thing. He's going to be your big time show type thing. He'll be your pay-per-view guy, few shows. He'll kind of have that Undertaker kind of thing going on with NXT where it'll be few shows leading up to the pay-per-view, drops email and some promos, and then show up for the big show. I just don't think it'll be the guy to be a full-time wrestler, but we'll see. I guess if travel's not a thing, I'm assuming he may be more into it. If he can just be into it with minimal travel, would be my guess.
Right. But we shall see. But that wraps me up and on the news. And do you have anything that I didn't cover, Brian?
I don't. I mean, there was the funny tweets back and forth with we're going to talk mostly NXT tonight and just going over their pay-per-view and a little bit from their weekly show possibly. Time shall tell with what we have left. But last night on AEW, good old JR had a little slip of the tongue and said that he was going to go to the vignette of the new or the current WWE champion. And then they went black and faded to something for Kenny Omega to speak on. And boy, the internet kind of blew up with that. Word got around, and Drew McIntyre put out a tweet that said, let me pop over to it here. It was just him sitting in a chair with the belt on his shoulder, and it just says, the WWE World Champion Drew McIntyre is not impressed or amused. So Drew caught wind of it and was just poking a little fun at that. And then I believe JR said something too, didn't he? There, Eric, you had mentioned that tweet.
Yeah, JR takes these things nowadays just like a duck in water, just lets it roll off his back. JR's reply through Twitter was, live TV, heat of the battle, my bad. That was all he had to say about it.
It is what it is. It's not that big a deal. The guy worked for WWE for 100 years, and is kind of programmed to say something over the course of time. AEW, WWE, it's all champion. Like I whatever. I don't give him that big a. He said some other goofier things before, where he's just been completely confused. That was just he was just talking and his brain went to him. This kind of got me thinking though. Like, do you think JR is
a time traveler and that Kenny Omega will one day be WWE champion?
Yes, that's exactly what I was going for. Do you think that JR is I'm gonna put my foot in my mouth here, is ruining his legacy by doing this AEW commentary? And not because what I'm gonna say is do you think that he was made to look better than he was? Because you got to remember, WWE is in those earpieces. We've heard stories. There's been shoot interviews and stuff on the WWE Network about how the shows and stuff has worked. And you hear Vince telling you what to say. You're fed lines and you're fed things to say. So is this like a writer-producer leaving a band and then the band can't write and produce music the same way anymore? Can the puppet not have the same voice? Jim Henson's gone.
Now, it's kind of weird going into this subject because I do listen to JR's podcast every week, and he responds to similar statements probably every other week or so. He doesn't care. He is happy where he's at. He can say whatever he wants. He makes it known that he hates a lot of the shit AEW does, but he straight up said Tony Khan signs his check. He'll say whatever he wants him to say. In my personal opinion, yes, his legacy will be tarnished by finishing out his career in AEW, but if that's what the guy wants, that's what the guy wants. He said he wants his last match ever that he calls to be in AEW, and he actually spoke on the most recent podcast saying whether he works one more year or 5 more years. He was just speaking on one of the best matches he ever called. One of the most emotional charged matches he ever called was Cody Rhodes versus Dustin Rhodes. But yeah, I think he knows he's not as sharp as he was in WWE. He doesn't sound as good, but at this point, he's just collecting to check, and he just wants to make money for a few more years and then sail off into the sunset and go watch Oklahoma OSU football.
The Sooners. Yeah, I think if he could get somebody, I like Tony Schiavone. I know he catches his heat up and down. I'm just gonna shit on Excalibur for 2 seconds. If he could get somebody else that was a better your play-by-play guy that didn't leave him kind of hanging out there and make goofy statements about a kitchen surface instead of calling it a table, I think it wouldn't leave JR. He could just throw in his JR-isms and just be there.
Right.
And
be on autopilot.
Be on autopilot and say some things. So I think he's trying to steer this ship, and it's going 3 different directions because I think there's the minimal production, it seems, behind the commentary, where it's like, we're just going to cut you free. Go out there, boys. Just do what you do. And I don't know I think there just needs to be a little more tightening up on that, and then JR can be the JR that he wants to retire as. But we'll see. Only time will tell what can happen. I can't, call anything else, but I think that's where it's getting lost, and what's going to tarnish his career on that little bit is that he needs somebody. There needs to be a path, a line to travel down, and how to call matches and how the things will work, and then he can just, again, be on autopilot. But there you go.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, just to touch on what you said, it's like he's in Guns N' Roses, like he's Slash. He's part of a huge, amazing band, and then just like Slash goes out and tries to lead his own band, and it's kind of like, ugh. Because you got to think, this guy's used to working next to Jerry the King Lawler, professional. Vince McMahon by his side, professional.
Michael Cole,
who's
as much as everybody gives him shit and hates him, like you were just gonna say, but he is the system of WWE and how they do things.
He is a perfectly WWE commentator robot, if they were to manufacture one, would be Michael Cole. But anyway, the point is he always has a professional next to him. And now he's dealing with Shivani, who through Shivani's entire career has always been a better interview guy than a commentator. And then Excalibur, which we've made it known and everyone makes it known. He just sounds like a mark at his mom's basement, just calling VHS tapes. So JR was kind of forced to carry the whole team now, and he's in his late 60s. He's not going to be as sharp as he used to be. God bless you, JR, make that money, but this by no means will compare to what he was doing years ago in WWE.
Correct. Well, I think that's the news segment. I'm going to create some audio stingers or something. That was the news.
Yeah, we got a lot of news out of the way, and we can actually, if you're ready, move into NXT TakeOver Vengeance Day.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
From February 14th, the Valentine's Day alternative, which I thought was a little on the nose of calling their fans losers. Because basically, if you're not out on a date or getting laid right now from your girlfriend, just this is the alternative. Just sit in your mom's basement and watch this wrestling.
Yeah, I sat in my living room and watched wrestling, so what up?
That's right.
Before we even dive in and break it down, personally, I'm going to give this, just to start it off with, I give the whole thing over the whole show. I give it a thumbs up. We'll talk about it and break it down from there. There was highs, there was lows. But the first high that I'll give this whole thing, the pay-per-view was pretty short. Like just over
I saw that.
2.5 hours. That was and it wasn't even quite 2.5 hours, but it was like pushing that just over 2 hour mark, and it was pretty nice. I like that, and we'll talk about why as we dive into this. So, what was our first match up here, Eric?
Well, we can start with the pre-show here. You sent me a text, said definitely check out the pre-show. I was mad at you for the first 20 minutes of this pre-show.
There's one moment. I should have just gave you the time code of when to tune into the pre-show and then.
So, you've always been a fan of the Opie and Anthony radio show. You've been a fan of Sam Roberts and Jim Norton's radio show. I was more of a here and there fan. I can listen to O&A bits. I can listen to Jim Norton, Sam Roberts bits. But this pre-show just solidified the fact that I cannot fucking stand Sam Roberts. His squeaky voice, his ratty beard, how he's only about 4'11" standing next to Wade Barrett. I cannot stand Sam Roberts. Are you a fan of this guy, or are you just a fan of shows that he happens to be on?
I like Sam because, as you stated, I was a big O&A listener. I listened to Opie and Anthony for like every day for 10 years. So Sam, when I started listening to that show, Sam Roberts was a college intern. And
oh, wow.
So, I got to understand the character that was Sam Roberts that becomes Not Sam on his YouTube and his podcast, the Not Sam Wrestling, and his pop culture style one, and the show that he hosts now with Jim Norton. So I've seen the evolution of Sam from his early 20s, which he's like the same age as us, as I was when I was listening to him. So I'm going, oh, this kid's in his early 20s. This would be really cool to be in his position, and he's a wrestling fan. So I like Sam because of that, and you also hate Sam for the same reasons. Sam's a douche, and he's funny. But if you know the character, I guess. So there's my explanation of Sam Roberts.
I can't believe he's only our age. He looks like Richard Simmons with a fucking carpet stapled to his face. But I digress. I sat through 20 minutes of this horse shit of them just hyping up the upcoming pay-per-view. And then 20 minutes into the pre-show, memories of NWA Power come rolling into my eyes, because in walks Eli Drake, now known as LA Knight. Eli Drake is now a part of the NXT roster, and he cuts a cocky heel promo on Wade Barrett and the guy from Barstool Sports, whoever that guy was, and he cut them both down. And I hope WWE or Triple H, whoever's in charge of NXT right now, just lets Eli Drake do his fucking thing. Just let him run with it and let him inspire other people and just let him go. This guy's going to be an NXT star.
Yes, I 100% agree. This was a big grab for NXT. It was a big grab for the WWE brand, the NXT brand. I'm surprised AEW didn't try and eat this up. Or maybe they were, but just couldn't get the money right, or he didn't want to go there and do that. That we'll never know. But pretty excited. I like this guy over in NWA Power when they were running that. Can't figure out the name change situation, where they went from Eli Drake to LA Knight. I'm not sure. Maybe more will come out of that, because it's weird these days for the name change for me, because back in the 90s it was like, all right, cool, like, all right, I get it. We didn't know who these people were, so these guys the Road Warriors jump over and call themselves the Legion of Doom, and you're like, oh, whatever. You just moved on. You didn't really, it was different. Or these guys that would come up from the indies that they would put through. We don't remember Edge as, what was his name in WCW? Like something
Sexton. Yeah.
Carl Sexton or something like that. Or Triple H. Triple H when he was terrorizing. We didn't pay attention. We were like, that's who that was. Like, it just went, it's moved on. But now with the independent scene and these guys becoming their own brand so much, Eli Drake was a name in himself. And then now the name change. So for me, it makes me think the first thing is that it's just branding rights, and WWE wants to own it, and they can't own his name, so they're gonna own LA Knight, and that when it's on T-shirts, and if he leaves, he can't go swoop that name up and take his WWE fame with him. He has to go back to Eli Drake, which will have lost value in the system as it will die for a couple years. That's the only thing I can think of.
Well, that's the obvious answer right there. We know WWE wants to own everything. In fact, they've already filed for the trademark on LA Knight. And this is just off the top of my head right now. I just pulled it out of my ass while you were speaking. LA, Eli, kind of keeps a similarity there. And as I was watching this show, there's way too many Drakes in the system right now. There's a Drake and the Grizzled Young Veterans, I think, and there's Drake Maverick.
Oh, yeah.
So do you need another Drake on the roster? But I don't know where the Knight comes from, but I definitely see the similarities in Eli and LA. But whatever, it's just another thing for WWE to own and make money off of, even after he's gone.
I get it. To that. But so I'm pretty excited about that and to see where that goes. That's going to draw me into that NXT, world a little deeper. Just keep an eye on the Eli Drake, LA Knight, and see what happens with that.
Yeah, so that was the highlight of the pre-show, and we move right into the main show here. And boy, nothing gets me pumped up for a wrestling pay-per-view more than a jazzy poetry intro of some young fella professing his love for NXT in a cool, jazzy, hip-hop way. This intro, Brian, I don't know if it was supposed to get you excited for the show, but it honestly made me dread watching this show. Like, I just, by the time this intro was over with the poem, I didn't want to watch wrestling. I hated it so bad that I was like, do I gotta watch? Like, do I have time tomorrow to watch this? I was in such a bad wrestling mood after watching this poem.
Not just a bad mood. You're all right. Any other thing you could have been fine with. This mood, this wrestling mood, this is bad.
No, you'll see what a bad mood this fucking poem put me in, because I have a page and a half of notes just from the first match. I was so mad. I was so mad I had to watch this 2.5 hours of horse shit just after the poem that I have a page and a half out of 5 pages, a page and a half are just the first match.
I didn't let the poem affect me that much. Maybe I should go back and rewatch the poem to see if it was that blood boiling.
I fucking hated it.
Did you hate that or that goofy band more? I forget that real screamo metal thing that they had.
Oh God. God, there was that episode 2 we did.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Go back in the archives.
The poem was worse, I think.
So the first match, we'll get into that. The poem to the side, we have Dakota Kai, Raquel Gonzalez taking on Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart for the Women's Dusty Road Tag Team Classic Finals match in this Dusty Classic tournament.
Just to correct you real quick, I think you mispronounced Ember Moon's tag team partner's name. I have it down as Shitzy Blackfart.
You really don't like her, do you?
I fucking hate her. And with her stupid clown paint. Oh, the fuck? I thought Insane Clown Posse retired from wrestling a long fucking time ago. But apparently one of them grew tits and jumped into NXT and rides around in a goddamn tank.
Tank hankerous.
But yeah, this is the finals of the Dusty Cup fucking tournament. And I'm sure Dusty Rhodes would be very proud. Right off the bat, Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, if you didn't know they were the heels in this match, just listen to the piped in audio from the fucking latest WWE video game, because they pipe in the boos so loud and you can't hear anything else going on in the arena. Just boo, boo, boo. The boos even overshadow the commentary. I had trouble hearing Wade Barrett because the boos were they had them bitches turned up to 11. And we know they're fake. Why do they got to crank them up so much and just shove them down your throats?
I don't know if the arena was whatever noise that was supposed to be in the arena at the time, if there was not enough. And they were like, whoa, we got to spice this up. You know, the handful of people in the crowd were too quiet. And they're like, what's going to sound worse? Or like a terrible... Remember those first, quarantine matches, like when the quarantine first hit and, like, nobody left their house? And, like, it was like they had that SmackDown on Fox, and there was, like, 6 people in the arena, and, like, 3 of them held cameras, and one was Michael Cole. And, like, nobody knew what to do. Like, those were awkward the other way, too. So you don't want anything super quiet. But yes, you're right. The volume was a little off. So I'm thinking more of just the mix was off, because it seemed to even out as the night rolled on.
Oh, it was bad though. And just to just touch on what you said, I recently went back and watched WrestleMania 36 or 37, whatever one just passed, where there was nobody in the audience. So no audio whatsoever. And it made me like sad watching. Yeah. It was so, but I digress. Yeah, the audio was just kind of shitty. Where even when there's people in the crowd and they boo, it didn't sound anything like this. This is the most fake video game. Everyone in the entire arena just saying boo at the same time, and it just sounded fake. It didn't even sound like a movie or a TV show with a laugh track. These were just
bad.
I don't know, just the over the top boo, boo, boo. So that was just put me in a bad mood from the beginning. If the poem didn't already do it. And then pretty much you got these 4 assholes in the ring. And the only time there's anything good about this match is when Raquel Gonzalez is in the ring, because besides that, I just feel like I'm watching a cartoon. You've got these 3 neon haired idiots just fucking doing the most contrived, helpful gymnastic spots where it's just clear that they're all helping each other. They're just doing spots. They're just doing gymnastics and flips and fuck arounds. And the only time I'm enjoying anything about this match is when Raquel Gonzalez is in there and just knocking the shit out of people.
Can't disagree with you. This was not one of my favorite matches on the card as the night unfolded. So this match was okay. It was very kind of slow. I don't even know if slow paced is it. It was just kind of vanilla paced, where nothing drew me in, but nothing necessarily pushed me away either. It just happened, and I existed through it. If that makes any sense to you on how I felt about it. I can't. If you were to say what was like a cool moment of the match,
well, I can tell you. I can tell you an uncool moment of the match.
What was that?
All right. So in the middle of this fucking clown show, everything just fucking hit the brakes and bring everything to a dead stop because Ember Moon has to put Dakota Kai in a fucking leg lock for 5 minutes straight. And don't get me wrong, like, this can be done correctly. I just watched the Kurt Angle Shawn Michaels match from WrestleMania 21. And that's the match where Shawn Michaels has Kurt Angle in a headlock for basically 10 minutes straight. And they kept it exciting. There was things going on where Shawn Michaels never let go of that fucking headlock. But that was still an amazing match. This was just Ember Moon holding Dakota Kai with a leg lock, and every 30 seconds or so, letting her take a couple steps towards Raquel Gonzalez and dragging her back to the middle of the ring. It was just extremes, one way or the other. It was just either a fucking gymnastic Steve-O fucking rodeo clown show, or it was just a dead stop sitting in the middle of the ring. I was just, this was bad. So Ember Moon, after God knows how long, an eternity and a half, Ember Moon finally releases the leg lock and tags Shitzy, but the ref doesn't see the tag. And this is another just ridiculous spot. So Ember Moon tags Shitzy Blackfart, and the ref doesn't see it. Well, instead of just Ember Moon getting her stupid ass back in the ring and tagging Shitzy again so the ref can see that it's a legal tag, Ember Moon stands there for 30 seconds arguing with the fucking ref about whether or not it was a legal tag. And meanwhile, Dakota Kai has to just lay in the middle of the ring and sell the shit out of this stupid ass leg lock for 30 seconds straight, because Ember Moon can't just fucking make the legal tag now that the ref's looking at her.
The funny thing is I sat back and I watched this. I watched it live, so I tuned it on, at 7 o'clock. Boom, it was on. Just sitting back. I had a steak, enjoying some wrestling, and was texting with our friend Andy, good friend of the show, and we were back and forth about what was going on, and both of us were just kind of enjoying for what it was, and like I didn't see it from this angle, so I'm left kind of like non-supportive on your arguments. Not that I don't see what you're saying is not wrong, but when I watched it in my moment of enjoying this show, this isn't how I felt. But I was like, the poem didn't really piss me off that much either.
The poem put me in such a bad mood.
Again, it wasn't the highest point of the show for me, but this match existed, and I was, I don't want to say I was just entertained. I was sports entertained by it.
I implore you, Brian, to go back and watch this with a critical eye. And watch Ember Moon just fucking stand in the ring and argue with the referee instead of just making a legal tag. Watch Dakota Kai actually have to lay in the middle of the ring and sell a stupid move that shouldn't have hurt her. Watch Gonzalez and fucking Dakota Kai run into each other like it's an episode of the Three Stooges, and watch the referee get distracted even more, and just tell me this was an entertaining match. It was just slapstick comedy horseshit. Then we get to see, not only are they ridiculously stupid when they're trying to be funny, apparently, but they're also dangerous, because Shitsy Blackfart gets Dakota Kai on her shoulders so that Ember Moon can do a crossbody off of the top rope onto the floor where Shitsy is playing chicken with Kai. And I'm pretty sure Kai has fucking brain damage after this bump.
Now
she needs a CTE scan because her head ricocheted off that floor.
I recall 100% recall this spot that you're speaking of particularly, and I remember flinching and just yelling, "Oh my!" I yelled something along the lines like either she's selling that well, either that went 100% perfect and it looked amazing, or that went terribly wrong and she's hurt. Something along the lines of that, as I stated, and my wife had no idea what I was talking about as we were eating dinner and watching wrestling, and she was so excited about.
Yeah, I don't. Megan's not exactly tuning into NXT takeovers every month or so. She's not going to notice a smooth spot or a botch spot.
I go, "Oh my God, I can't believe that!" And she was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." Okay, so anyways, we moved on. But yes, that spot was either really good or really bad. But I'm going to lean more towards your side of that went a little rough. It was a little hot.
Yeah, from what I saw, it looked like Dakota Kai's brain was playing pinball in her skull, and she hit the high score. But we get some more teamwork spots where everyone's just working together, and finally this comes to an end when Raquel Gonzalez gets the pin on Shitsy Blackfart, and that's that. Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai win the Dusty Cup, and apparently they're now the number 1 ranked tag team in NXT. So yeah, that's that.
For the storyline of having those two win, I would much rather have it go Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez than to go Ember Moon and Blackheart. So I was very happy about that. That I think the more can be done with those two in a women's tag team championship title run, or fight for a title.
And then I'm gonna have to go against you because Shitsy and Moon are more of a tag team, where I feel putting Raquel Gonzalez in a tag team with anybody, not just Dakota Kai, severely limits her. If there's any type of commitment of her to be in this tag team, it's holding her back. It's adding time to what she would need to be a single star. Raquel Gonzalez could be the next NXT Women's Champion tomorrow. They don't need to tie her into a stupid ass tag team. She's the next Rhea Ripley.
You don't think she needs a little more time for any more polishing up in the tag team situation, or you think she's just ready to rip roar and move on that solo gig?
Nah, she's good on her own right now. As far as NXT, I wouldn't throw her on the main roster.
No. The main roster thing for me is played out, but I guess I just don't care for, really, out of all of it, like, I don't care for Ember Moon on the other tag team so much that she pushes me away. Shotzi, I can dig with Shotzi. Like, she's not like drawing me in where I'm going, no, like she needs to be main eventing, but I don't hate her quite to the extent that you do. Her tank drives me nuts because she uses it every single time she comes out and gets a little old and a little long in the tooth. But Ember Moon is boring to me. When she made her big announcement that she was back, I didn't know she was gone. Like, they're like, Ember Moon's back, and I'm like, the hell'd she go? So I just don't care about her. So with Raquel Gonzalez being in a tag team with Dakota Kai, I think definitely this is more helping Dakota Kai. But I think it's definitely not a long-lasting tag team, so when they do put it in, it's going to be something that's going to lead into a split and then lead into that singles career as they move forward with that.
Yeah. Now that you bring up Dakota Kai, I didn't really shit on her too much for this match because Ember Moon and Shitzy were in the match. So, that automatically rises Dakota Kai up a notch. But I just can't. Dakota Kai gets a lot of praise from the internet wrestling community for being a heel. But when I watch her perform, she is just so skinny. There's no meat or muscle on her bones. You stand her next to a Rhea Ripley or even a Toni Storm. Like Toni Storm's got that like thick body where you can see her knocking people around. I don't imagine Dakota Kai. I couldn't see her beating up an 8-year-old.
Now, I agree with you that Dakota Kai as a singles competitor or as a heel, I'm sorry, is not believable to me. She just looks like a sweet lady that would be like very nice to you.
A cheerleader.
Yeah. Maybe if they can really push that bitch attitude on her or something, but the problem with women's tag teams is that they've never made there's very rarely a tag team that's a women's tag team, a la the Rockers or the Hart Foundation where they were a tag team. These are just two girls that they usually don't have anything to do with at the moment, and they slap them together now and call them a tag team.
Yeah, by all means, that is one of the problems with women's tag teams. My problem with women's wrestling is there's women that are cut out to be valets, and then there's women that are cut out to be wrestlers. And just because you can do the flips and you can jump off a top rope doesn't mean you're believable as a fighter. This is supposed to be simulated fighting that kind of suspends your disbelief. And Dakota Kai, unless she puts on some muscle, unless she gets in the gym or eats a Whopper or two, I'm not going to believe anything she does in the ring is going to damage anybody. So I just personally think as of right now, she should just be a diva, be a manager, be a Terry Runnels.
A mouthpiece for Raquel Gonzalez.
There you go. I think that would work perfectly. Let her run her mouth, let her be a bitch heel, and let Gonzalez go out there and destroy everybody.
There we go. That's our thoughts on that opening match.
Yeah.
Do you want to get into this next one? You got anything else left for these ladies?
No, that's it for that. We can move on to the next match, and this match was for the North American Championship. We've got the champion, Johnny Gargano, versus Kushida. And for me, I just went on and on for God knows how long on that women's match. I've got virtually nothing on this match. This match, Kushida and Gargano, was just run-of-the-mill NXT one-on-one match for me. I didn't see anything special that stuck out in this for me.
I really like this match just because it was I like Kushida. I like Johnny Gargano. And it was just this was just a good match to sit back and watch and enjoy wrestling. Very technical. I don't have the play-by-play notes as Eric likes to get too deep into. I just have my overall gut feelings on the match as I sat back and watched it. But just the moves that they were going for, the story that they told, was great. I thought this was very entertaining. It was very technical, and I thought they put on a good match. Now, I wish my heart was saying, put that belt on Kushida, and let's get something new going and push Johnny Gargano towards a title run now and get him in the big picture and move him up that way and take his posse with him that way, and they can work that, as I think he needs to move up the rung back into that in that title picture. But even as we worked through the match and it ended, as we were talking as the match was going on, I was very excited and happy that it ended clean. That Johnny Gargano, we'll just skip kind of towards the end here, that Johnny Gargano won the match without any interference. There wasn't 65 ghost face scream masks that came out of the crowd. There wasn't his posse didn't get involved. I can't think of his new clique's name that he what do they call themselves? I can't remember the name of it now off the top of my head. But anyways, there was nothing. There was nobody got involved. There was no Austin Theory. There was his wife didn't get involved. It was just Kushida, Johnny Gargano. Boom, they went at it and they just told a kind of a old school classic wrestling story.
Now I can get behind you on that. Where if you take everything that happened in this match and plugged in any two wrestlers from any roster on TV, it would have been a good match. Technically wise, is a great match. Very competitive. The moves were smooth. These guys had great chemistry. They worked well together. I guess my problem is nothing to me sticks out about either Kushida or Johnny Gargano. Johnny Gargano is just personality-wise just lame to me. He's not funny. When he tries to be a heel, I don't buy it. He's just Mr. Blah to me. And Kushida, the only personality trait I see in Kushida is that he dresses like Michael J. Fox every week. Does he even talk? I can't remember a time of him talking.
It's just, and that's an English's second language barrier that they have there. So he can speak. His English is very, it's like Nakamura. He can talk, but it's just hard to understand. And it's just, not from this country and doesn't speak English. They come from Japan, so they speak a loosely translated English. So, but yeah, that's about that. But I just think that he's just I don't know. I just sat back and gave this match just what it was and how it worked, and I just enjoyed it just for wrestling. It was smooth. It was the thing. It wasn't I don't think you could plug any two wrestlers in and have it be a good match. I think you'd have to have plug two wrestlers in that can then gel well together, that can complement the move sets that they offered to each other, and then you can have a good match again. So it's not like you could just throw, Orange Cassidy into the match.
Orange Cassidy and Luther.
And plug them in, and you're just going to be like, well, that was the same quality as Johnny Gargano and Kushida. I don't buy that. But what I buy is that these two just are working well together, and I was excited just to sit back and enjoy it. I thought it was a great match.
All right. Yeah. Funny you bring in, or I guess good that you brought up Nakamura. I like him. He has, even though we barely hear him speak, you feel Shinsuke Nakamura's personality every time he's on TV. His movements, his
wacky
weird twitching, his dancing, everything. I don't feel any personality out of Kushida. Maybe I haven't watched enough of him. Maybe I didn't watch him while he was in Japan. But I'm going from where usually you're on a entertainment aspect, and I'm constantly evaluating the technical aspects of the matches.
Kind of flip.
This is where I'm flipping it, and technically, I didn't see anything wrong with this match. I liked it from a technical aspect, but entertainment wise, it was beige. That's all it was for me.
There you go.
But yeah, that's that for me. We got our next Dusty Cup Finals match. If you're ready to move into that,
yeah, we can move into it. It was, like I said, I'm fine with that. We can keep moving, keep it rolling.
All right, so we go from beige up to the Grizzled Young Veterans versus the Rascals, now known as MSK.
Yeah. Do we know what MSK actually stands for? Or is it just we're just going with MSK, FTR, make up your own acronym?
That's what I'm going with. I haven't seen a solid answer anywhere.
All right.
But
just curious if I missed something.
So we start this match off with some serious mat wrestling from the Grizzled Young Veterans. I didn't like these guys right off the bat just because of their stupid name, Grizzled Young Veterans. it's just I don't know. It just means nothing to me, and there's nothing behind their name. So I didn't really want to give these guys a chance, but they came out with some serious European style mat wrestling, and that contrasted greatly with MSK's AEW Indie Mud Show style. So right off the bat, you got them clashing with styles, and the level of indie bullshit just goes through the roof because we even see a fucking Bronco Buster coming from Nash Carter. And a Bronco Buster does not belong in a wrestling ring. I even hated it when X-Pac did it. Even X-Pac shouldn't be doing Bronco Busters. It's fucking ridiculous. It's just stupid. It's flat out dumb.
Now, see, my thought on the Bronco Buster, it more from X-Pac because I knew the character, so I can speak upon it on there, and maybe we were transferring it to this match as well. Never took it as a wrestling move. I took it as a
crotch chop, kind of.
A crotch chop, a screw you, a mocking type of like, I'm just rubbing my crotch in your face, rubbing my like a Rikishi stink face. This is too easy for me. Bring it up to the idea that they were trying to play with Orange Cassidy in the hands in the pockets, if you will. So it's just like a show-off type move, and that's where I always took that from. And X-Pac had the attitude to back up something like that for me, where he could just go crazy and rub his dick in your face.
Well, I can see you from that angle with X-Pac because he was part of the Degeneration X, and X-Pac can be a cocky asshole and rub his dick in your eyes. But MSK, the Rascals, they have no clout in WWE or NXT for that matter. So MSK coming in, even if it's from a cocky angle where they're the shit and they're gonna rub their balls in your face,
you're not sold on it yet.
MSK has no point or no part in doing that. They don't. That's not them. I don't know. They don't have the right to do that right now.
To me,
they haven't paid their dues.
To me, I can buy that, and also on the other end of that, for spend so much time on a Bronco Buster here, but the other end of that is I think that the way that the commentary team would sell a move like that, if they sell it as in like, look at these kids, they got no respect for their opponents. Okay, then the Bronco Buster makes sense. Now, if they're doing a Bronco Buster and they sell it as a devastating move that is now leading to a pinfall, I think that's wrong. That's not what the move is. So, two ways that you can also look at it too, how you're being fed, So, there we go on the Bronco Buster, people.
Well, that's the end of the Bronco Buster bit, but
Tune in next week.
So MSK is just doing their best to fucking audition for AEW in this match is what I'm seeing. Back-to-back catch me spots. And I honestly feel like I'm watching Dynamite at this point. I feel like I'm watching fucking Top Flight versus FTR.
No.
Granted, a shittier version of Top Flight versus a shittier version of FTR, but nonetheless, this is what I'm watching.
I was worried that this was going to be MSK that's what it was all going to be. And I don't feel I got all of that. There were some spots. I thought the catch me spot was shot pretty well and done well because the one was such a good surprise that I remember even texting Andy going, that's how you do a catch me spot. If you're going to do one. And it happened with quickness and speed instead of sloth-like movements and bad camera angles. So
right, they were kind of on the point and hit it rather than making the veterans stand there with their thumbs up their asses waiting for the spot to happen. Now the grizzled young veterans do their best to work a traditional tag team heel style where they just get a train of endless double team moves on Nash Carter before he finally gets Wes Lee in there with the hot tag. And once Wes Lee is in there and he gets the hot tag, we just get a a seemingly endless choreographed cheerleading routine, complete with tumbling. We've got it's like I'm watching the fucking 92 Olympics. Goddamn, that chick with the broken ankle. We're getting fucking flips and twists and cartwheels, all a bunch of contrived bullshit added to a move. If you're going to do an elbow drop, what's the difference between if you do an elbow drop or if you do 3 back flips, a somersault, and a McTwist before you fucking do the elbow drop? All this shit that MSK is adding into this match is just unnecessary, and it's just driving me batty because they're just putting on a performance. I'm not seeing any competition here. I'm not seeing them fight to win the match. I'm seeing them, look at me, I can do flips, I can do twists, I can do cartwheels. Look at me, I'm a performer. I'm a fucking circus rat.
Now there were spots of that. I cannot take that away. That there was some. It got a little long where you're going, okay, again, you're adding the flips to stuff that didn't affect you one way or the other. But I thought part of their performance in the match here was they were using their speed, and that was the story they were telling, is taking the speed angle and moving instead of the grizzled young veterans, slow, methodical, Arn Anderson style, the Andersons working a body part and staying on that body part for an hour and a half. I picked the shoulder, and we're just going to beat this guy's shoulder apart, constant arm locks and everything else. These guys are going in for the young and eccentric and over-the-top speed. And so when you can do that with quick tags, in and out, on the ropes, off the ropes, maybe even some dives, I can buy that. I'll give it to them there that's what they were doing, and I enjoyed that part of it. But now, to what you said, yes, they added some things added to it were just unnecessary. So then you're just in show-off mode, but you're not getting anything accomplished either. So anything more accomplished. You're not getting scored on points plus the match.
Right, and it's not like these guys they don't look terrible, but they're by no means stone carvings of Adonis here. These are just Nash Carter is just covered in shitty tattoos that looks like he got done at the flea market. So just seeing a small guy without a ton of muscle tone and a bunch of shitty tattoos doing flips and twists, it just screams flea market parking lot to me. I don't see performer. I see just mud show fucking shitbird.
Mud show shitbird. No, I didn't get, again, this poem really pissed Eric off, and I gave this whole pay-per-view. I can go back and read my transcript with Andy. We were both enjoying it, and I enjoyed most of this match as well. There were some spots that I did not care for again, but I really enjoyed that dive that I can't remember which one of MSK did it. I'm not too up on the name, keeping them straight yet, but he did that running dive over the turnbuckle in the corner. From right over the post to the outside, like that flip. He went and planted himself and did the dive flip right over the post. That was amazing.
Nash Carter is the paler of the two, and Wes Lee is the guy with a little more melanin in his skin. So
I don't remember which one it was.
You don't remember which one did it?
Either way, but I just remember the dive over the corner, right out of the ring, over the corner was amazing. There were some good spots. I enjoy some high spots, though. I'm a high spot type wrestling fan. I do like that. Some of the slow, methodical stuff that's always on the mat and takes a long time to get done, I think it bores me. So when there is something that's a little high energy, moving, dives, flips, ropes are involved, that's going to draw me in for the spectacle of the visual, and digging that. So these two working together, though, that's why I think I enjoyed it. You did get them to slow them down when you're getting the grizzled young veterans to tell the story, bring them down on the mat, let's calm them down, and then when it was time for the MSK to tell the story, we were moving and shaking, jumping and shucking and jiving all over the place. So that's why I thought this match worked well together.
don't get me wrong, Brian. I'm not just a cynical asshole who's here to pick apart this match. There was a good spot in this match. I shit you not. I saw a good spot.
Yeah.
And that was the Doomsday device on the outside of the ring.
Oh, yeah. That was dope.
And Wesley sold his ass off, or right down to the twitching. It looked like he was having an epileptic seizure after taking that Doomsday device. So that was beautiful. But anyway, the goofy indie fucks do a few more flips and trips and twists and dives, and they end up winning, and MSK is your men's Dusty Cup winners.
I didn't see that coming, and I'm actually I was happy to see that, as I would consider it an upset in the match, that the young kids got the win and put over and put up on that high pedestal for the NXT Tag Team Champions championship chase. So I was excited about that. I love a good twist to a story. I love a good nice M. Night Shyamalan to the story there. Of you didn't see that one coming, because I definitely wrote them off from the beginning of watching this, going, well, they're not going to let them win. But they did, and maybe it's going to help them evolve. I think there's a lot of growing to be done in their storytelling in the ring, but we'll see.
Yeah, we shall see. Moving on from there, we get a vignette for Cameron Grimes, and I don't like Cameron Grimes, and I never have liked Cameron Grimes, so I'll let you take the lead on this one. I just have, in quotes, "to the moon," whatever the hell that means.
Okay,
so what was this about, Brian?
So last week on the weekly show NXT, so the "to the moon" is what everybody from the Reddit community, from the Wall Street Bets Reddit, I'm sure everybody's familiar with by now, was using for GameStop, BlackBerry, and whatever else they were, Nokia and AMC, right? They were buying all those stocks. Yep. And then also Dogecoin was buy it and hold it and ride it to the moon. That was like the hashtag that was popular with that. To the moon, to the moon. So now the story being told is that our buddy here cashed in his GameStop stocks and his Dogecoins that he bought a bunch of early adopter style, and he rode it to the moon, and now he's a millionaire. He got super rich.
That's his gimmick.
That's the story and the gimmick they're working with right now.
Wow.
They worked it. Now look at this. They got to work in current pop culture. He had no. Now I was not a fan of this Cameron Grimes character either. Never really cared for him. I never understood what he was. I never understood who he was. But I think this is a character that can be worked with, or a character trait that can be told something. He can just be a rich guy now. He can go $1 Million Man style and kind of work with this over the top. He can have substance to his character, is what I'm getting at, that he didn't have before. He just came out and wore a goofy vest and had his hat on, and then he would wrestle, and he was like an awkward hipster. I didn't know what to think of him. Now he can at least have this to back him up with some money, and eventually he can lead him to now being broke sometime down the line, right? The storyline can evolve into cashing in on these stocks and these Dogecoin cryptocurrencies to going broke eventually. At least there'll be substance to the character.
I guess my only hope for that is they develop something stronger for Cameron Grimes to kind of hang his hat on, no pun intended, with his stupid hat, or to anchor with, because a month from now, nobody's even going to remember the Reddit shit, the Dogecoin or the fucking GameStop stock. No. So if you go back to, if you're trying to touch on his origins, people are going to be like, what? Like, what the fuck are they even talking about? So I hope if this is what they're sticking with Cameron Grimes, that he's a new money rich guy, I hope they develop something stronger for him to latch on to.
Yes, I can agree with that this is a blip in the radar of pop culture, that something happened. The stocks are never going away. Cryptocurrency is never going away, but it in the public eye of the masses knowing what they're talking about. So you can't keep running with that, right? So, but how are they going to latch on and keep this going? Right now, he's just going to be loaded and be a rich fella.
Yeah, this would be, let's say Cameron Grimes existed in 1996 Attitude Era. He's a new rich guy because he won a Macarena contest. That's essentially what this is.
The .com bubble. But again, the character, then he can go through the burst. You know, the bubble can pop on him, and he can go broke. And then that'll be a cool story to keep telling, too, with that. So I think it can evolve through there. Right now, they're going pop culture with this character, and it'll last a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see where it goes from there. But we go from this thrilling Cameron Grimes vignette right into the triple threat match for the Women's NXT Championship. We've got Io Shirai, my girl Toni Storm. I'm a huge fan of her.
I saw that.
And Mercedes Martinez.
I've known Eric a long time. I knew he liked Toni Storm.
Thick, trashy blondes and fishnets. Who would have thunk it?
So, what'd you think of this match?
Well, my first note on this, if you painted Io Shirai's face, she could perform at children's birthday parties. She's already got the bright clown suit, neon hair, and gymnastics and somersaults.
I am not a fan of Io. Like, it's not even not a fan. I just don't care about Io Shirai. Like, I am not. The internet really seems to gobble her up. And, like, really.
Yeah, I got that too. The internet community loves Io Shirai, and I just don't get it.
Really just rallies behind her. So, to me, this was like, cool. You got two other options to throw the championship on, and we can move on from there. But I don't know much about this Mercedes Martinez. I got to, really see her work last night some more. Toni Storm. So, I don't know. I thought this was like, it had a lot of possibilities, and to be honest with you, I thought it kind of was a little flat. It wasn't necessarily it wasn't your, that old school, we've talked about it before, women's match before the main event that was like a womp, like nobody cares, but it definitely wasn't where I thought they could have performed at. These triple threats, I get lost in, or I don't like them because I hate how they have to get that third person lost for a little bit. They're like, boom, you got hit in the face, go lay in the corner for 22 seconds. Give us 12 minutes over here so we can do our thing for a minute, and then we'll trade.
It seems to be on both programs, that being NXT and AEW. Triple threats or matches with too many people in them it's almost like a shallow writing where they don't go deep into why people are doing things. They're just like, oh yeah, just like you said, we need you to lay in the corner for 10 minutes so we can go ahead and get these spots done. So yeah, it's with a little more effort, these matches could be way better, immensely better. But yeah, Toni Storm, bless her heart, she she has a great look to her. She works well. They always mention that she's a 12-year veteran, which I found kind of weird because when I looked up her Wikipedia, it says she's only 25, and lo and behold, she started professional wrestling in whatever country she's from when she was 13. So yeah, she's been doing this for a hot minute, but she's only 25, but a 12-year veteran. So she works well, but just nothing seems to go her way. She's trying to work up a table or a announcing table spot with Mercedes Martinez. All she does is clear a couple water bottles off, toss a monitor, and the fucking announce table just collapses. And it was just like, oh my God, are you serious right now?
Yeah, that was the worst timing. It was nothing like, you can't look and go, that's your fault. That wasn't her fault. That wasn't anybody's fault. It just happened, and it was just happened to her, and she gets stuck with it, but it wasn't her fault.
And Wade Barrett and young Michael Cole in a pink jacket just try to sell it so well, and trying to sell that Toni Storm purposely destroyed the announcing table, even though she just cleared it off with the gentleness of an IHOP waitress taking away your pancake plate.
Yeah, that was just unfortunate. That was just unfortunate bad luck.
And we get more Io Shirai. Every match we see her in, she's basically the Asian female version of Kevin Owens, where she just wants to do ridiculous over the top spots in every match. Because we got her climbing a 10-foot lighting rig or truss or whatever they call it, so she can do a cross body onto Tony Storm and Martinez here. And that just Io Shirai is just a clown to me. That's all. She's just there to do big spots and look goofy as fuck.
Yeah, they just kind of painted her in the corner to be that, and now I don't know if that's the way she wants to be, that's the way she's told to be, or whatever. But it's just painted into a corner of being that. Go jump off of that. Go dive off of that, and it's always it's so. I'm not a fan of that either. I just really don't care for her, one way or the other. I was hoping I thought it was a great time to throw the strap on somebody else, and I was really crossing my fingers that it would happen so I could give a damn about the women's championship.
Yeah, either or. Whether it was Tony Storm or Mercedes Martinez, I would have been okay with either one of them holding the belt. But the worst part of this match is right here, Brian. This last spot of the match.
Are we going into the clunky finish?
Oh, this was so bad. So Tony Storm hits a couple big moves on Mercedes Martinez, and they're buying time. You can tell they're buying time so that Io, the fucking circus monkey, can try to stay out of the camera's view and perch herself up onto the turnbuckle.
That's her famous thing, is it's always out of the camera view. Same thing at War Games. She did the big flip out of nowhere. It was very, everything was all just like that. Every time she's in something, she comes flying. Oh, look at her. She comes out of nowhere. Somebody saw her.
Yeah. And you can kind of see her getting up on the turnbuckle, and it's almost like our brains are supposed to be mashed potatoes here, because why would Tony Storm continue with the pin attempt if she's looking directly across the ring and sees Io Shirai perched up on the turnbuckle?
Well, because if it's happening out of our frame, it's happening out of everybody's frame.
Exactly. We've all got the fucking brains of possums here, where if it's not right in front of us, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Oh, well, in Tony Storm's case, it was right in front of her, but she has to pretend that it doesn't exist.
Because that's not how it's seen on TV. Break down the fourth wall.
Tony Storm does her a couple big spots on Martinez, goes for the pin anyway, even though she's in clear view of Io Shirai. Io Shirai hits the moonsault onto both of them. She steals the pin on Martinez, and she retains her belt.
Yeah, with half a moonsault, really, as Io missed majority of that moonsault. It was a very weak, half-landed moonsault. I thought that there was just, with 3 people in the ring and being a triple threat, so many possibilities, so many things, and it was just kind of more of the same. It really wasn't a triple threat match. It was these two versus these two, then this one-on-one match, then it was this one-on-one match, and then it was this one-on-one match, and then a moonsault and a pin. It was just rotating one-on-one matches. It was a gauntlet match.
That's about it.
It's like, nope, you're out. They might as well have just made it that, like a popcorn match or something, where they draw a number. And number 2, you have to go sit down, and then, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not allowed to be in the match until your number comes in. Then you got to trade spots with the other person.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's basically what it was anyway. They might as well put a little bit of
the stipulation,
a little force behind it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then Shirai wins and retains, and I don't know. I'm a fan of some title changes, man. It just seems like people get these titles put on them, and they just becomes their character. Like, we're just not seeing, I know eventually the titles change, but man, Gargano's been walking around with that North American Championship since, Halloween. And Io Shirai's been the champion for about 10 years now. It feels like.
And it's funny you say that, because you pretty much hit the nail on the head, where you say they get these championship belts and it just becomes their personality almost, where you can go back to old interviews with Bruce Pritchard or whatever, and you can ask him, how come Undertaker didn't really hold the championship for very long.
Didn't need
He
it.
didn't need it. And you have to develop a character that's strong enough on its own, or that should be the goal anyway, where people want to see you whether or not you're holding a belt. And I can say from that, Finn Balor, he's got it on lock. I would pay to see Finn Balor no matter where he's at. But Io Shirai or Johnny Gargano, I really couldn't see myself going out of my way to tune into one of their matches, unless they had a championship belt and there was a chance of them losing it.
Right.
It's almost become their character is the champion.
And unfortunately, I think it's just a different way that it's done now. Is it used to be work your way up to earn to hold the championship, and now it's you're given the championship so people know who you are, instead of for people to know. You know what I'm saying? Instead of everybody knowing who you are, and then you get a title shot. It's just you come in and then you get the title, or you get a title, some type of title. Doesn't have to be the NXT championship or whatever, but you're just given a piece of hardware to carry around, and then people know you from that. And you work your way
it's almost like
backwards.
a gimmick enhancement.
And once you
if
lose
will.
it, then what?
Then you lose a chunk of your gimmick,
Then who
and
are
nobody
you?
gives a shit.
Right? Yeah. And then you act. Yeah. I agree with that 100% on all aspects of that. We move into the NXT Championship match: Finn Balor, Pete Dunne.
Yes, speaking of Finn Balor, this is our main event of the night. The NXT champion, Finn Balor, is defending his championship belt against Pete Dunne. And this match, it had me all over the place. At the beginning, I wasn't feeling it so much.
Really? See, now I would have put that you were feeling it because it was a slower paced match, very methodical and mat-style wrestling in the beginning.
Now, you say that so that I can say this. I like that style, but they drug it out for a long time. There was a very long period of just straight up mat wrestling, and eventually, even a fan of the traditional style like myself eventually wants to see some action. These guys stayed on the mat for an exuberant amount of time.
Exuberant. Exuberant.
I hope that was the right context for that word.
Sounds
But,
right.
Even I can't watch a half an hour straight of just thatch match or mat wrestling.
Texas catch can or whatever they call it. Old school mat wrestling, yes.
And so during their half an hour marathon of mat wrestling, Pete Dunne locks in an armbar / joint manipulation on Finn Balor's fingers. And that's where we get it again. NXT just piping in those boos. I swear you could hear those boos in fucking Disney World from fucking wherever the hell they were. Those boos were just piling in because old Pete Dunne had an armbar on Finn Balor.
Yes, they're really able. See, I was thinking during this that they were really able to manipulate your emotions if it wasn't too abrupt with the audio. They were really able to manipulate your emotions with their own audio. So you could kind of get, like, all of a sudden you might find yourself being like, oh yeah, boo, Pete Dunne. And then you're like, wait, I like Pete Dunne. So they're kind of like in your brain manipulating how you're feeling towards other, when it's live, you know what you're going to get. The crowd just might decide Pete Dunne's the good guy tonight.
Yeah. When it's live, you have a natural, almost just a natural reaction would be to follow the crowd. So that, I agree, that's what WWE is attempting with the piped in audio, but because it sounds so fake and because it's so overpowering,
Yes,
it takes you out of the moment.
It's very shaking when it happens. If they can get the sound balanced out, you're almost like, man, they're going to really manipulate the story and how I feel. And you're just going to go with it.
If they can adjust it correctly and make it sound a little more authentic, I agree. They can manipulate the audience's feelings the way they want them to go.
Right. Instead of that live reaction of like, you get two jackasses like me and you in the crowd and might turn a whole section to being Pete Dunne fans just because the majority is not. We'd be on the yay boo punches. We'd be boo yays, right? We'd be cheering Pete Dunne and booing Finn Balor. And I'm a Finn Balor mark, but at a live event, man, I love taking the heel side and just making people angry around me. It's really fun in the crowd.
Yeah, we're the boo yay crew.
Boo yay. The match does pick up as we move towards the middle of it here.
Yeah, that was my next note here. Action finally picks up, and Finn Balor's just wreaking absolute havoc on Pete Dunne's knee and his neck. Finn Balor is just pinpointing those two areas on Pete Dunne, and he's doing everything he can to handicap Pete Dunne here.
All right. Kind of step back just a half second on that, too. I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about Pete Dunne's joint manipulation?
All right, so that note is a little further down here.
Okay, so you do get into it. So we'll just keep rolling. We can dive into it.
Yeah, let's just keep rolling with it. So I have in here, thank God things picked up, because this was late in the show. I was a little sleepy, and if I had to watch them on the mat for another 15 minutes, I may have passed out. But Finn Balor picks things up. He is going hard on Pete Dunne's knee and his neck. Pete Dunne is selling his ass off. I'm loving this match at this point. I liked the beginning, just thought they dragged it on a little too much. We're getting into some more action here, and I'm really digging this match. So Pete Dunne gets his first comeback of the night, and he's just got some overly energetic, in a good way, offense, complete with these brutal looking head stomps on Finn Balor. And I'm all in at this point. I am loving this match, Brian.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Pete Dunne. I'm a big fan of Finn Balor and Pete Dunne. So this was like a win-win for me in this whole match. Really didn't care which way it went, because put the strap on Pete Dunne, I'm geeked. I'm happy. You leave it on Finn, I'm not mad at you. I just hope it doesn't bury Pete Dunne is all I hope. Either way.
Right. I wasn't the biggest Pete Dunne fan before his hiatus and comeback. And even starting this match, Pete Dunne was just kind of to me. But when I see how hard-hitting his moves can look and how authentic they look, and I don't know if that's all Pete Dunne or if that's his dancing partner in this match, Finn Balor, who knows how to take a move and sell a move. But yeah, either way, I went from not being a fan of Pete Dunne to this match being all in with him. He's fantastic.
Yeah, I think a little bit of both on the selling and the working. Pete Dunne is known as the bruiserweight. He's just known, and he's always had a rougher, more in-your-face style of wrestling than your traditional just regular wrestler. He's been a little more of that just in your face, and looks like his punches are a lot more real and a bigger sell, real strong style of wrestling for sure.
It is. That's a great way to put it. For instance, that power bomb during his first comeback that he put on Finn Balor was just devastating. It was a sit-down power bomb, which don't usually look that impressive. But when Pete Dunne does a sit-down power bomb to Finn Balor, it's just like, oof, holy shit.
Yeah, how he sells his moves back is he kills it. He's great. I'm a big Pete Dunne fan.
At this point, Balor kind of gets his comeback, and he's working again on Pete Dunne's knee, trying to do as much damage as he can to it. We get some more back and forth, and Finn Balor is eventually on a roll until he goes for that first coup de grace attempt. Pete Dunne turns it into a triangle. And this is where the joint manipulation conflict comes in for me. So I am all for grabbing a motherfucker by 2 fingers or 3 fingers and manipulating him into doing whatever you want, moving where you want him to go, putting his arm in whatever position you want to. What I have a problem with is Pete Dunne grabbing 2 fingers or 2 sets of 2 fingers and just really overdoing and yanking down, acting like, mimicking that he's putting all of his strength and power into separating those fingers. Because if he were to even do it at 25% of what he looks like he's doing, Finn Balor's fingers would be broken off. They would be completely dislocated and they'd be hanging off his nubs like strands of spaghetti. But so that's why I have a problem with it. Use the fingers to manipulate movement all you want, to weaken your opponent, to get him into arm bars or whatever, all you want. But when you're acting like you're breaking his goddamn fingers and then 10 seconds later, Finn Balor's pointing at you with his fingers straight as an arrow, it takes me out of it.
I feel the exact same way. I was, again, texting with our friend Andy, and I said, I love the joint manipulation, the working of the hand, the working of the elbow or the wrist and all that stuff and whatever he's doing. But the extreme moves of him snapping the, quote, fingers, it takes me, again, I said, I lose it. I said, you get your fingers broken, and nobody's ever in a splint or a cast or nobody's got their fingers taped up the next time you see him. And you can kind of move
Pete
through
Dunne
it. Now,
magically can break your fingers and fix them in the same match, apparently.
Finn sold it, throughout the rest of the match that it hurt and that, was good, just good business. But for the long-term storytelling of anything, you're going nothing. Like, you don't even give like a, just a good sell for the next couple times. Like, it's just, I don't like it. The extreme version of it, to the point where he, like, again, dislocates and breaks your fingers. I don't like that at all.
Right. Well, we will agree on that, and hopefully, Pete Dunne, he's still young, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's only like 25.
Yeah, he's still young. So as he learns more, hopefully he picks up sooner than later that this is supposed to be simulating real moves and real thing. And seems like he's got that down for the most part with his strikes and his mat wrestling and submissions. So hopefully it clicks with him that maybe I shouldn't act like I'm breaking somebody's fingers if they're going to be fine 10 minutes later. But another thing these two guys did fantastically is false finishes. False finishes have lost their luster for me over the past 5-10 years. Watching classic matches from WrestleManias, I don't know, 15 through 25 or whatever, false finishers had you on the edge of your seat. Oh, this is the end of the match. Kurt Angle just hit the Angle Slam. This match has been going on for 20 minutes. Angle's got the ankle lock on. This is the end of the match. Shawn Michaels just hit a super kick. It's the end of the match. And then the opponent kicks out of that pen and you're devastated. You're grabbing your hair and you're like, holy shit. Seems like nowadays you expect the false finishes to happen, and you're by no means surprised when Kenny Omega kicks out of a fucking Meltzer driver or whatever.
22 finishing moves. I agree 100% with you that you can't. A good false finish has got you jumping. But what? Oh my God. Oh, then you start to go, oh my God, it's going to go the other way. They're going to get the other guy over. Like, why, when you actually react to the false finish, but sometimes these false finishes, you just go, here comes one. He's going to kick out of that. You're calling it. No,
right.
No, not yet.
Literally
not yet.
calling it. You and I
Not
can
yet.
be sitting next to each other.
Now,
Like,
occasionally they get us. Like, I mean, they had Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam win with a backslide. Like,
Yeah.
we didn't see that coming. So occasionally they get you the other way, but I'm just saying, like, you can call these false finishes where you feel bored and watching it, not paying attention. But when they can get you on the edge of your seat and buying those false finishes, man, it's exciting.
Yeah, and this is Finn Balor and Pete Dunne were able to bring it back for me. Pete Dunne hit a bitter end on Finn Balor, and that was, I thought that's it. It's a wrap. I thought they were going to put the belt on Dunne that night, and that, like we spoke of in the previous match, Finn Balor doesn't need the belt to be a star. So, yeah, that was a false finish that got me right there. I thought Pete Dunne was taking it with the bitter end.
Yeah, these guys had you jumping all over the place here at the end of this thing.
Now, spot of the night comes out right here. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't contrived. It wasn't overly complicated. This was nitty gritty. Finn Balor ripping the mouthpiece out of Pete Dunne's mouth and just running across the ring and kicking him right in the fucking face with both feet. That was it for me. I lost my shit. That looked amazing and brutal.
The psychology behind it too was cool because, Pete Dunne is known for that mouth guard. He grits his teeth together, and shows it off that he's always sporting the mouth guard. When he was the champion, right, he'd put the strap of the belt in his mouth and he'd bite down on it, and it would hang, the belt would hang down long ways down his chest and through his legs, and he'd flex and pose while he's being introduced and put his fist to his face and show the mouth guard. So the psychology of taking that mouth guard out that's become a piece of him and then going for the mouth. It showed like Finn Balor was at that point of like putting somebody in the, like at their breaking point, like I'm going to kill you. Like I'll do what I have to do to win this.
And he sure as shit did. Rip that mouthpiece off, double drop kick to the mouth. Then he hits him with a coup de grace, and then just the icing on the cake, the cherry on the sundae, hits him with the 1916, gets the pin, and Finn Balor retains his championship belt.
I like this match from top to bottom. I thought it was great. I loved every second of it. I thought it was a great match. Very happy, like the entire night, that nothing was done dirty. I don't care for run-ins and stuff like that. A bunch of hoobly garbage. It just drives me bananas. So I'm glad that it went the other way. Now I'm sure eventually you get bored of this too, but it's been so much of the other way that you're like, just give me some clean matches. and let's see some clean matches. Now eventually you're going to get bored of some good old Boy Scout wrestling and you want to see some bullshit go down, but some heel turns and some chair shots, but I was happy with the way that everything kind of went down cleanly, at least.
Yeah, I was impressed by that. Clean finishes. A lot of the times, dirty finishes, run-ins, cheating, rather than being used correctly to, not risk taking heat off of a guy or something to that effect. It's just used as lazy booking where we don't know how to write ourselves out of this one. We don't know how to get this guy to drop the title. So we'll just have a run-in or something.
And speaking of run-ins.
Now, this right here got me too. Before old Horny Lorcan makes his run-in here, Finn Balor just won the champion, or just retained the championship by beating Pete Dunne clean. And he's celebrating in the ring. The referee straight up tells him to leave the ring and points to the ramp. If I'm Finn Balor, all right, so I get this had to happen. The ref had to keep shit going so that the next spot could happen. But if I'm Finn Balor, fuck you, ref. I'm Finn goddamn Balor, and this was the last match of the night, and I'm the NXT champion. Your stupid ass referee isn't going to tell me to leave the ring and go up the ramp while Pete Dunne's just laying in the middle of the ring. Like, go fuck yourself. You're not telling me to leave the ring. That irritated the shit out of me. That the ref, the fucking stupid ass referee who doesn't look any older than 25 years old, has the balls to just say, all right, scurry on, Finn Balor, fucking NXT champion, former WWE top level superstar. Scurry on and go up the ramp. Get the fuck out of my ring. That irritated the shit out of me. Fuck that referee. Whoever that referee is can fucking join the union with that dipshit. Who's the idiot?
Turner's a moron.
Oh yeah, Paul Turner. He could join the fucking idiot referee union with Paul Turner and the bald fucking mannequin fuck from AEW. Like, that irritated the shit out of me. If you were Finn Balor, would you listen to that idiot ass referee and be like, okay, ref, I'll leave?
Okay. You take the you can get them little moments, and it's like it'll turn into 20 minutes of us bullshitting on this thing because
that referee's fuck that referee, dude.
So after the referee points at the ramp, but we do get our back to our run-in.
Yes, right after the referee says, hey, bitch, I don't care if you're the NXT champion. Get the fuck out of the ring and go up the ramp so that the next spot can happen. Finn Balor continues his celebration on the overly shiny ramp. And that's where we get our run-in from Horny Lorcan and Danny Burch. And they attack Finn Balor, and both of them and Pete Dunne decide to jump Finn Balor, and we got a 3-on-1 beatdown here. And who makes the save, Brian?
Well, you knew it was coming. We're waiting for Undisputed Era to make their appearance and come out and save the day.
Right. You can't have Horny Lorcan and Danny Burch in the ring doing some unjust, mean bully shit without UE coming in to save the day.
Well, that, and for one, that, and for two, Undisputed Era was nowhere to be seen this entire card. So
that's true.
These boys had to make an appearance. It's Undisputed Era, for the love of Pete. So they don't for the love of Pete Dunne. So all they do is chase. They really don't even get anything accomplished. They just come out, Horny Lorcan and Danny Burch and Pete Dunne, right? They just kind of hit the bricks. They were out of there. They were like, we ain't messing with UE. Yeah. We're done with this nonsense.
No, so you've got Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong making the save, not even having to get physical with anybody. And Kylo is just extending that olive branch out to Finn Balor. He really wants to make peace and kind of bring Finn Balor into the fold, let him know everything's cool.
We're
moment, all boys here.
I almost felt that, now, mind you, everything changes here in moments. I felt that they were like a peace offering of like trying to bring Finn into Undisputed Era almost.
I got the same feeling.
The way it was going down. And then our boy, Adam Cole, throws a super kick party. He throws a super kick party and catches Finn's chin piece and drops that son of a bitch like a bad habit.
He channels his inner balding buck and hits Finn Balor right on the button with a super kick.
And then Kylo is none too pleased, giving the old stink face to Adam.
What's he get for his trouble?
What's he get for his troubles? He gets a super kick party himself. Nighty-night,
Kylo.
Nighty-night, Kylo.
Kylo's counting sheep. That motherfucker was out cold.
Adam Cole dips out. Adam Cole dips out. He goes to the end of the ramp there, and he's telling Roderick Strong to come on, let's go. And Roderick's standing there going, well, the boss, Adam Cole, says let's leave. But he also super kicked my friend in the face.
Roderick Strong like he was doing trigonometry on his toes. He was just so confused.
He was so confused. He stood there looking back and forth. So you have Finn Balor knocked out. You've got Kylo knocked out. You got Adam Cole up the ramp and Roddy Strong in the ring standing there, and fade to black. That's how they wrap up the pay-per-view. And if that didn't leave you interested on what was going to happen on Wednesday, to at least go and read, at minimum, people were, if you watch that, people were checking in at minimum on what happened on Wednesday night. That was old school Attitude Era style of leaving me hanging, wanting to know what's going to happen. Now, the only problem that falls into this is back in the day, we got pay-per-views on Sundays, which we had the other night, but we had our answer to what happened less than 24 hours after it happened.
On Raw, right.
On Raw, or whether it was Monday Nitro or whatever it was you were watching. Nonetheless, they were both Monday night. Pay-per-views were always Sunday. So you were like, holy shit. That happens at 11 o'clock on a Sunday. 9 o'clock p.m. on Monday, you're going, what's going down? You're tuning in. Unfortunately, now it happens on a Sunday, and you're waiting all the way till Wednesday. So I think you do lose a little bit of the power that you had behind that high note. But nonetheless, I was excited for NXT Wednesday and had to check it out and see what was going down. So that was your WWE Vengeance, Saint Vengeance Day pay-per-view. And
our Valentine's Day alternative.
Valentine's Day alternative. I give it a big thumbs up. I enjoyed it. And Eric seemed to be a little bit all over the place, so we'll let him decide on where he felt on it. But I liked it. I was well enjoyed it. I thought there was a lot of more higher spots than super low spots as you get in a 3 or 4 hour main roster pay-per-view, where you're like, where they gotta just, they take a long time to do things, and there's no cheesy backstage segments. It was more matches. The matches were constantly good compared to the last match, and we moved forward and working our way up the card. And I thought it was good. I was very entertained. I get WWE main roster stuff gets long, and I get lost on what's happening, and so many backstage segments and who's interviewing who, and I lose interest. my ADD kicks in.
Yeah. I unfortunately have to give this pay-per-view a thumbs down. It's not a thumbs all the way down, but the only, even though it's phenomenal, the only good thing about this pay-per-view that would get a strong thumbs up would be the Finn Balor Pete Dunne match and the ending to the show. But unfortunately, you can't rely on one main event match to carry an entire show. I thought the rest of the show was pretty much poop.
I mean, WCW did it for about 10 years, so I mean, you can.
That's the blueprint to live by.
That's that.
I don't want to watch wrestling anymore.
So that is that. That is been the show this week. So make sure you guys tune in to all of our social media platforms. Head on over to Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and get on the KayFabe Smark. Head on over to YouTube. Hit up the KayFabe Smark, subscribe, and like and follow over there. All the social media platforms. Head on over to audibletrial.com/thekayfabesmark. Get your free audiobook, 30-day free trial, all that fun stuff. Help us out, help you out. Social media, wrestling, let's do this. Do it again next week. Next week we got Elimination Chamber. So
yes, another pay-per-view on the books.
That's on Sunday, so we'll be tuning into that and talking about that next week. But Eric, you got anything for us?
Yeah, just a couple bonus tidbits here. We did get the answer on NXT, how Adam Cole felt, because he did interfere in the Oney Lorcan, Danny Burch, Pete Dunne versus Finn Balor, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong match, and he tilted in the favor of the heels, and Adam Cole has turned on the Undisputed Era.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting. We did get our answer there. And I checked out AEW, but it wasn't anything too interesting. We get our return of Riho, and she beat Serena Deeb. I feel probably the internet wrestling community and Kenny Omega got more of a boner over Riho's return than I did. And
again, I didn't know she left.
And we got our confrontation between Sting and Team Taz, and this was topped off by Brian Cage approaching Sting encouraging him to drop the baseball bat. Cage and Sting getting a little tussle, ending in Brian Cage power bombing Stinger. And we got to see what Brian Cage could do to a 68-year-old man. But even power bombing a 68-year-old legend will not wipe the tarnish off the fact that Brian Cage lost clean to Tessa Blanchard in Impact Wrestling.
Boy, he pulled it out, even though a show that didn't even involve the son of a bitch. Got it in. AEW, I don't know what the hell they're thinking over there. Everything's a gimmick match, and your main event for Revolution now is an exploding barbed wire ring match.
Oh, I'm pumped for that.
Yeah. So, anyways, again, social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, the KayFabe Smark. YouTube, get on over to the KayFabe Smark. Check us out. We go live when we record this. Give us some reviews and some likes and some stars or whatever they're doing on the podcast platforms these days. Helps us out. Share it with a friend. And Eric, you gonna take us out of here?
Yeah. I've said everything I need to say here, so I've got one last phrase, and that is hooty hoo. We out the gates.